I've been asked this question more times than I can count in my years of studying success and human behavior. People come up to me after seminars, they write letters, they call, and they all want to know the same thing. Jim, why do the worst people seem to get ahead? Why do the liars, the cheaters, the manipulators seem to win while good, honest people struggle? It's a fair question, a painful question. And if you've ever felt this way, if you've ever looked around and wondered why integrity doesn't seem to, well, you're not alone. Today, I want to share with you some hard-earned wisdom about this troubling observation, and more importantly, I want to show you why this perception, while understandable, is fundamentally flawed. Let me start with a story. Years ago, when I was still struggling financially, working as a stock clerk, I knew a man named Eddie. Eddie was everything I thought I wasn't. Smooth talking, always had money in his pocket, drove a flashy car, wore expensive suits. While I was scraping together quarters for lunch, Eddie was buying rounds at the bar, impressing everyone with his success. Eddie would brag about his business deals, how he'd outsmarted this person or that company. He'd laugh about bending the rules, about taking shortcuts that honest suckers like me were too naive to take. And I'll be honest with you, there were nights I went home feeling like maybe I was the fool. Maybe playing by the rules was just a path to mediocrity. But here's what I learned, and here's what I want you to understand. Eddie wasn't successful. Eddie was performing success. There's a profound difference. You see, what we often mistake for success in others is merely the appearance of success. It's the flashy car bought with borrowed money, the confident swagger masking deep insecurity, the loud voice compensating for an empty soul. True success, the kind that lasts, the kind that fulfills, that's built on entirely different foundations. Now let me be clear about something important. Sometimes people who cut corners, who lie, who manipulate, sometimes they do get short-term results. I'm not going to stand here and pretend that dishonesty never pays off in the immediate term. That would be naive, and I've never been one to sugarcoat reality. But here's the crucial distinction we must make. Results are not the same as success. I learned this lesson from a mentor of mine, a wealthy businessman who'd built an empire through decades of ethical practices. He told me, Jim, anyone can get results. A thief gets results when he robs a bank. But success? Success is getting results you can be proud of, through methods you can respect, in ways that build rather than destroy. The worst people might get temporary results, but they're building their house on quicksand. Every shortcut taken, every person betrayed, every principle compromised, these don't strengthen their foundation, they weaken it. And eventually, inevitably, the foundation crumbles. Let me tell you about another person I knew. Let's call her Sarah. Sarah was brilliant at manipulation. She could charm her way into any job, any social circle, any opportunity. She'd sweet-talk her way to promotions, then blame others when things went wrong. For years, she seemed to be climbing the ladder of success while more deserving people were left behind. But what Sarah didn't realize, what people like Sarah never realize, is that every manipulation has a cost. Every burned bridge, every betrayed trust, every shortcut taken leaves a mark. Not just on others, but on yourself. See, when you achieve something through deception, you can never truly enjoy it. There's always the nagging fear that you'll be found out, always the anxiety that your house of cards will collapse. The victories feel hollow because deep down you know you didn't earn them. More importantly, each time you choose the easy path over the right path, you're not just affecting that one situation, you're training yourself. You're building habits. You're becoming the kind of person who takes shortcuts. And once you become that person, it becomes harder and harder to change. This brings me to one of the most powerful concepts I've ever encountered: the compound effect of character. Just as money compounds over time when invested wisely, so does character. Every honest decision, every moment of integrity, every time you choose the difficult right over the easy wrong, these accumulate. The person who builds their success on solid principles might start slower, might seem to lag behind the corner cutters and rule benders, but they're building something sustainable, something that grows stronger with time. I think of Warren Buffett, who built his wealth through patient, principled investing, or Sam Walton, who built Walmart by genuinely caring about customers and employees. These men could have taken shortcuts, could have bent rules, but they chose the longer, harder path. And look at the legacies they built. Not just financial legacies, but legacies of respect, admiration, and positive impact. Now here's something else we need to address: The visibility bias. The worst people often seem more successful because they're louder, flashier, more visible. They're the ones bragging about their achievements, showing off their possessions, making sure everyone knows how well they're doing. Meanwhile, truly successful people, people of genuine character and achievement, they're often quieter about their success. They don't need to prove anything to anyone. They're too busy building, creating, contributing to spend time on self-promotion. I remember visiting the home of a multi-millionaire friend of mine. His house was nice but modest. His car was clean but not flashy. His clothes were quality but understated. A person driving by would never guess his net worth. But down the street lived a man who was actually deeply in debt, driving a leased luxury car, living in a house he couldn't afford, wearing designer clothes bought with credit cards. Guess which one looked more successful to the casual observer? This leads us to perhaps the most important distinction. The difference between playing the short game and playing the long game. The worst people you're thinking of, they're almost always playing the short game. They're focused on immediate gratification, quick wins, fast results. But life, real life, meaningful life is a long game. It's about building something that lasts, creating value that endures, developing relationships that strengthen over time. Let me share a story that illustrates this beautifully. There were two farmers, neighbors, who started farming at the same time. The first farmer wanted quick profits, so he overfarmed his land, used cheap fertilizers, ignored soil conservation. For the first few years, his yields were higher, his profits better. He mocked his neighbor for being slow and old-fashioned. The second farmer took a different approach. He invested in soil health, used sustainable practices, planted cover crops, rotated his fields. His initial yields were lower, his profits smaller, but he was playing the long game. 20 years later, the first farmer's land was depleted, unproductive. He was struggling to grow anything. The second farmer's land was rich, fertile, more productive than ever. He'd built something sustainable while his neighbor had burned through his resources for short-term gain. There's something else we need to talk about. The internal cost of compromising your values. When you see someone succeeding through questionable means, you might think they're getting ahead without consequences. But there are always consequences, even if they're not immediately visible. Every time you compromise your integrity for a result, you lose a piece of yourself. Every time you choose dishonesty over truth, manipulation over authenticity, you become a little less than who you could be. And that cost, that internal cost, is far greater than any external gain. I've met many people who achieved external success through questionable means, and I can tell you, they're not happy people. They're anxious, paranoid, constantly looking over their shoulders. They can't trust others because they know how easy it is to be dishonest. They can't enjoy their achievements because they know they didn't earn them honestly. One of the most powerful predictors of long-term success is the ability to delay gratification. The famous Stanford marshmallow experiment showed this clearly. Children who could wait for a second marshmallow instead of eating the first one immediately went on to achieve more in life. Across virtually every measure, the worst people often succeed temporarily because they can't delay gratification. They want results now, success now, recognition now. They're willing to compromise long-term sustainability for short-term gains. It requires the ability to plant seeds today that you won't harvest for years. It requires the wisdom to build slowly and steadily, rather than grabbing everything you can as quickly as possible. Here's something the shortcut takers don't understand. Your character determines your network, and your network largely determines your opportunities. When you're known as someone of integrity, doors open. People want to work with you, invest in you, recommend you. But when you're known as someone who cuts corners, who can't be trusted, who throws others under the bus, well, you might get some short-term opportunities. But the best opportunities, the life-changing opportunities, those go to people others trust and respect. I've seen this play out countless times. The person who seemed to be getting ahead through manipulation finds themselves increasingly isolated. The networks they thought they were building were actually just collections of people using each other. When times get tough, these networks dissolve because there's no real foundation of trust. Meanwhile, the person who built their reputation on integrity finds themselves surrounded by a network of genuine supporters, mentors, and allies. When they need help, people are eager to provide it. When opportunities arise, they're the first to be thought of. This brings me to a crucial point. We need to redefine what we mean by success. If your definition of success is simply having money, possessions or status, then yes, sometimes the worst people will seem more successful. But that's a shallow, incomplete definition. True success includes peace of mind, genuine relationships, the respect of people you admire, the ability to sleep well at night, knowing you've lived with integrity. It includes making a positive difference in the world, leaving things better than you found them, being able to look at yourself in the mirror with pride. By this more complete definition, the corner cutters and manipulators aren't successful at all. They might have temporary gains, but they lack the deeper satisfaction that comes from earned achievement. Your reputation is like a bank account. Every interaction either makes a deposit or a withdrawal. The person who consistently acts with integrity, who keeps their word, who treats others with respect, they're making deposits every day. Over time, this account grows substantial. The person who lies, manipulates and takes shortcuts, they're making withdrawals. They might get away with it for a while, especially if they started with a good reputation, but eventually, inevitably, they'll overdraw their account. And when that happens, opportunities dry up, relationships end, and they find themselves truly alone. Let me share with you one of the most powerful exercises I've ever learned. It's called the mirror test, and it's simple but profound. At the end of each day, look at yourself in the mirror and ask, can I respect the person looking back at me? Am I proud of how I acted today? Did I earn what I received? The people who seem to succeed through questionable means, they can't pass the mirror test. They might have external validations, but they lack internal peace. And without internal peace, what kind of success is it really? So how do we build real sustainable success? How do we ensure that our achievements are built on solid foundations, rather than shifting sand? First, we commit to playing the long game. We understand that real success takes time, patience and persistence. We plant seeds today that we might not harvest for years, but we plant them anyway because we know they'll grow into something beautiful. Second, we never compromise our core values for short-term gains. We identify what we stand for and we stand for it, even when it's difficult, even when it costs us in the short term. Third, we focus on adding value rather than extracting it. Instead of asking what can I get, we ask what can I give. The shift in perspective changes everything. When you choose integrity over shortcuts, you're not just affecting your own life. You're creating ripples that spread far beyond what you can see. You're modeling behavior for others. You're raising the standard in your industry, your community, your family. Every time you choose the harder right over the easier wrong, you're making it easier for others to make the same choice. You're contributing to a culture of integrity rather than a culture of shortcuts. They might accumulate stuff, they might gain temporary advantages, but they don't build lives of significance, meaning or genuine satisfaction. The real victory isn't in beating others through manipulation or shortcut. The real victory is in becoming the kind of person you can respect, building the kind of life you can be proud of, and making the kind of difference that lasts. So when you see someone who seems to be getting ahead through questionable means, don't be discouraged. Don't doubt your commitment to integrity. Remember that what you're seeing is likely an illusion, temporary gains built on an unsustainable foundation. Keep playing the long game. Keep building your character. Keep adding value. Keep treating others with respect and dignity. The results might not come as quickly as you'd like, but when they come, they'll be real, they'll be lasting, and they'll be something you can be truly proud of. Remember, success isn't just about what you achieve. It's about who you become in the process of achieving it. And when you choose the path of integrity, patience, and genuine value creation, you're not just building success. You're building a life of significance. The worst people don't succeed in the end. They just make noise along the way. But you're building something that will last, something that will matter, something that will make the world a little bit better. That's not just success. That's significance. That's what really counts. Keep going, keep building, keep believing in the power of doing things the right way. Your time is coming, and when it arrives, it will be worth the wait.